commercials.
Just enjoy the music.
Heading right back to the music, right here on 88.5 UFM.
And we're still right here on the Touchdown Lakers Drive Time Show, 88.5 UFM. Yours truly, 80 to the radio OG, rocking with you steady, giving you all that you need as we proceed. Yeah. And boy, oh boy, I have been meaning to say this for just a minute, all right? Again, anytime I say this word, I just have something massive in the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt regular programming to bring you a gift that keeps on giving, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a guest in the building on the Touchdown Lakers Drive Time Show today, all right? And as always, when I have a guest, I, always sort of end up, being in like my own head. And because really, each guest that I have on the show is pretty special. And I mean this special with every single word. Special with how, their music is, special with what they do as, as a craft, special with their persona, because everybody has their own, individual traits. That's why your fingerprints are not the same with somebody else's. It's unique just to you. All right, and as always, I like to always craft my intro to be as unique for the person as possible. And today on the show, when I got introduced to this guy's music was a couple of years ago. And quite frankly, I would not lie, I wrote this down in my notes only to be back here a couple years later seeing that I am going to be using that stuff. And here's what I'll say. There are some songs and some voices that don't arrive like thunder. Not everybody will have that Odumodu kind of voice that is so, yeah. Some arrive like sunrise, actually, like sunshine. Quiet at first until they suddenly realize that, they've illuminated everywhere and everything around them. And tonight, we are joined by an artist who I would say has found melodies on a long road trip between Port Harcourt and Ibadan. Who, I would say picked up a guitar because Asha, made honesty sound so beautiful, And this guy at some point in time said that, hey, I'm going to trade computer science, for the certainty of chasing purpose, which is music. On many occasions, he has asked the world, are you listening? And finally, the world started to lean in and say, yeah, I think you've got something that the world has to listen to. This guy has spent 5 a.m. dreaming for the betterment on the streets of Bodija. And also, he has expressed his timeless affection for a certain Folake. And right now, well, he's starting to ask the question. Maybe he's now into older ladies. Hence, why he made a song about Uche Jumbo. Ladies and gentlemen, he's proof that vulnerability can be strength, that silence can carry rhythm, and that some stars don't just explode into existence. They rise with intention. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome an artist who's not just making Afro beats, but stretching its very definition. Welcome, Taves in the building. How you doing, Taves?
I'm good. I'm alright.
Wow, and hence why I said that some voice in Arabic thunder, they just, you sound like sunrise. If I should imagine what vacation looks like, it's your voice. It's you are the epitome of a soft boy. Have you been called a soft guy before?
On occasion, yeah.
On occasion or usually?
Usually.
How often do you get called a soft guy?
I don't know how often, but I've heard it a bunch, I've heard it a bunch for sure.
Do people confuse the softness of your voice and your persona as do they sort of confuse that for a softness of like character as well? They think that maybe you are also like a very just like trouble,
I mean, who really likes trouble if you think about it?
Yeah.
But like, no, it's more. I'm just a chill guy, man.
You're just a chill guy. I feel like you put that sound now. I'm just a chill guy. Let's jump into it. I know you get asked this question like a bunch of times, but I am particularly invested in in this for one reason, right? And one of that is the fact that you said your earliest music memories comes from road trips with your dad, right? And one question is, if those trips never happened, do you think like a Taves would exist?
I mean, yeah, most definitely, because it's. I mean, first of all, my dad used to play music around the house as well.
Oh,
you know,
okay. Yes. Yes.
I would have gotten it one way or another, but I think even outside of that, I just feel like it would still have found me
Mm-hmm.
some way or another, like one way or another. You know.
I like that. No, and it's such an interesting name, Taves.
Yeah.
Did you go through an arc? Because, for example, I'll tell you, man. I'll be vulnerable. Can I be vulnerable with you?
Go crazy.
Can I say go crazy?
Yeah.
But I've had my own naming arc
Okay.
on radio. When I started radio many years back, I used to go by what's called the radio sage. Right now, and that's because everybody just felt like I spoke like wise things on radio. So I like, radio sage goes nice. Then radio sage evolved. There was an era I was obsessed with Don Jazzy, so I took my first name and Don Jazzy's initials, so it became Don Dammy.
Okay.
Right, yeah, and until one day I was passing by the streets and there were like a lot of thugs. And somebody shouted, "Don!" I was like, never ever in your life call me Don in front of these really socially people. And and I went on and on. I had like 2 or 3. Those time I was in my music era, and I called myself Dre Keys, right? And then finally what I have today as ADT. Did you go through that arc naming yourself, or Taves of stock, and how did it come about really?
I can't say that I've had an arc.
Yeah.
But Taves was just me and my brother pretty much trying to find a name that sounded the coolest.
Yeah.
That we could, like, the coolest thing that we could probably possibly think of, because I was, how old was I? I was like 16 or 15.
Yeah.
When we did this, and like it was at the time, like, just anything cool I was down with, like I wanted my name to sound cool. I wanted my music to be cool, I just stuff like that. But I think Taves holds a lot of significance for me, because like it came about when I was still forming my opinions on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only things that has stayed consistent since that time. It's been like 8 years,
now. Yes.
7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Since then. So
I like that you said it stayed consistent with you.
Yeah.
And just towing that line of your name and how it came into be, I'm also very fascinated about your origin as well. And my question would be, because of course you did one of the most lucrative courses to study in, like in Nigeria, and you went and you just said, I'm going to leave this certainty for what some people call the uncertainty of music, looking at how saturated some people say the market in Nigeria is.
Yeah.
Right. A question would be, what was that aha moment for you that was like, hey, I think what, I'm onto something with this music. I think this is what I want to do in my life. I don't think I want to continue down the binary line. And just, was it like an aha? When did you realize that, hey, I think I'm going to lock in on this and just run with it?
It would have to be towards the end of the year that I spent in university.
Okay.
When I did the For Days cover, that Bnxn song.
Yes.
And he responded to it, and like he pretty much, like, based off of what he heard, he liked it so much that he made all these plans for me, and like plans of ways that we could work together. And like, at the time I still am, man. I'm a really huge Bnxn fan, man, so it's just like that validation was more than enough for me, and like, not like I was looking for an excuse to sort of get out of the whole school thing, because nothing is easy. But I can genuinely say that I don't think that was my thing, and I was really only studying computer science just to do it. I didn't have any kind of love for it, or like any real interest. It was always music, and like I feel if I had been doing something related to like what I liked, I probably might not have left, but who's to say for
I like that you said that, and you spoke about Bnxn, and of course I think anybody, unless they're under a rock, would not know how Bnxn has sort of been a pivotal instrument in career. But I want to do this linkage right now. You've also said that Asha sort of helped shape your music DNA to an extent, and looking at how you've you worked with Benson. You know, there are almost two different tropes in terms of genre-wise, right? What lessons would you say you've taken, you know, from both Asha and Benson's music that still influences like songs that you make till date?
I think I would say the importance of the importance of like being like unapologetically yourself at all points in time, especially when it comes to like when you want to make the music or like or like create, you know. I don't think there's anything that's as important as that when it comes to art, you know, because like I feel like people can genuinely tell when this came from you, this was you, and it shows, you know. And another thing would be like the quality means a lot to me, you know, because initially when I first started dropping music, I wasn't really like tapped into a lot of things, like even the down to the engineering of the song or like the production, you know. I was just like, okay, this sounds good to me in my ear. I didn't put any effort into trying to learn like, okay, how does a well engineered song sound like, how does this sound, you know. Like I was just going with the flow, you know. But after working with Benson, it kind of showed me that okay, you really can't compromise on any aspect of this shit, you know, because it's just like you have to be putting your best foot forward at every single point in time, you know. And like anybody that loves your music and shows you that support, they're literally like your lifeline, you know. They're the ones that propel you forward, so you really owe them the best version of the song and yourself, you know. So that's something that those are two things that
I like that you said this, you know, about staying authentically yourself. And you know, and it's I wrote down in my journal one time when I heard, especially when Are You Listening, I wrote it down in my journal, and I thank God for Cloud and all that stuff. And when I heard you know, we're going to be having this today, I put it up, and what I wrote was, your songs and your lyrics feel like, you know, pages from a journal. It's almost like I'm reading from somebody's diary, right? Have you ever written or made a song where you were scared that you maybe might have shared or revealed too much? Has that ever happened?
If it has, that song is probably not out, you know, so we don't even have any reference point right now. But I think for the most part, I don't even talk about certain things in my music until like I'm sure that okay, this is a story that I want to tell, you know? So even if something has happened that I probably will feel that way about, I just haven't reached the point where I'm comfortable enough to speak about it, you know.
I think I like that. I want to say this, and it's something I hear constantly with all the praise you've done over the last couple of years. It's you've resisted, and in a country like Nigeria, and a market where it's the next thing, the easiest thing to do after releasing a song in Nigeria is being boxed. That's like the first thing to do, and you've actively resisted being boxed into a genre. Do you, as an artist and you know someone who's has been spotlighted as a shining light of the movement now, because you transcend Afrobeat itself, you know, where you carry the movements more or less. Would you say that genre is becoming a lot less relevant to your generation of musicians and artists?
Yeah, man, I really don't. I hear some things and I'm just like, what would you even call this? You know, like where do you put this? What box do you want to put that in? You know, and I think it's such a great thing, because like I feel like just generally, like Africans by the whole world, or maybe even through their own fault, maybe, I don't know, but by the whole world, they've sort of been put into a box. So any kind of music that comes out of Africa, even if it's R&B, even if it's pop, even if it's this or that, there's just gonna be Afrobeats. You feel me? And I don't know, I feel like there's so much more than that going on. And these days you hear a lot more of like different things than you hear Afrobeats even, you know, which is like bittersweet at the same time, because I love a good Afrobeat song, you know. Like like Fola delivers on that a lot. Shoday delivers on that a lot.
Funny enough.
Yeah. So it's just like there's real importance in like people that still stick to that real, you know, and it's like, and it comes out good. They might do other things, which is fine, but it's just like they stick to that real thing. So I don't know. I feel like labels really do a lot of damage in the long run, you know, because like it lets people box you and everybody, you know, and I just don't think that makes a whole lot of sense.
I like that you say that. However, I want to, you know, lean into my Nigerianness and the I just want to satisfy the creativity of every Nigerian that will try to always create a box where there should be no box really. And the last couple of years, we've had, you know, a lot of inventions with music. You know, we've had Afro piano, Lapo piano, Nepo piano. It was found out recently, you know, because that's what they call the song. Yeah, I think you know already. Yeah. So, I mean, if you had, I mean, and there was time on X or Twitter where, you know, people were classifying the kind of songs that would more do, you know, on Malay mix, they call it Afro, you know, Afro cultism, Afro depression. Now, if you could invent a genre that defines, you know, the Taves taste in music, and I say taste in music, not sound now, because you know, your taste in music reflects in the kind of things you create. So if you could invent a genre that describes the Taves taste in music, what would that be? Afro Taves or sincerely Taves?
Let's just call it genre Taves. You know?
Yeah, let's go into that.
Let's just call it
That's
Taves.
it.
That's just what it is.
I think I would take that.
Yeah.
I would take that. We would go on a break right now and play a song from you, one of your recent releases, and we're going to step into your thought process coming into this project that you just, you know, and I think it's a very interesting name you've chosen for the project, as well as direction that you've taken as well. Yeah. All right, and I'm sure you've been seeing the comments, you know, proceeds from, you know, especially when you dropped one of the singles off it as well, and how people have been receiving it. Yeah. So we're going to step into that. I want to know exactly, was this like an intentional curation, or, you know, you just allowed, you know, yourself feel like you've always done over time. But let's play one. All right, it's a jam that, of course, you know, samples on what someone will call one of the Afrobeat greats, right? Yeah. It's Uche Jumbo. All right, and interestingly, I also want to ask you: is she on your list of woman crush, or it just came?
I mean, for sure, since I was young, you know.
Okay, nice to know. Uche Jumbo from Taves right here on 88.5 UFM. Massive jam. You had to dig into the wells of Afrobeat classics for that. Tell me, what exactly was, you know, what was going through your mind? Was it a day? Was that the last song you listened to before going to the studio to record this song? No. What exactly? What was the idea and the thoughts behind this song particularly?
The initial song itself was without the sample. Like, I did this in the studio and it didn't have the sample on it. You know, and it wasn't done, but I did the first verse and the chorus, and then I went home and I was playing it for my friends. Yes. And then my stylist Fadil, he said that that one part, he pretty much said that it kind of gives, like, if I put Dondo elements in this, it would make sense, you know. And then back in the studio, we're trying different things out, and then I have to insist that, like, we use that intro the exact same way that it was used. You feel me? Just tweak it a bit to fit what we did, and then I want to live one bad gone. You gotta put that somewhere in there, you know. And then we ended up putting it at the end of the song, you know. And I feel like the drums being consistent throughout, like coming in at the beginning and then having that at the end, everything just sort of works together, you know.
Talking about alignment, I know how, you know, clearance can go for this kind of record. How long have you had it for?
I made this song like September last year.
So it wasn't hard getting clearance, more or less.
It took a minute, but it was cool. Shout out to my team; they're just really good at what they do, you know. So
I like that. Shout out your styles as well for you know, for also, you know, for giving you the ideas on that one. The project is called Popstar. Why Popstar?
I feel like for a very long time, I've been sort of like growing and like becoming more sure of myself and the music that I make, and you know, there's a lot more confidence in it now, and it's just like I feel like that is just what I would use to describe myself, because like if you see that and then you listen to the music, you get it, you know. It's just like that's just what it is.
And I'm asking you this because I mean, you, like I said, you exude and effectuate this soft boy persona, and anybody that hears the word pop star, what comes to their mind is, you know, flashy lifestyle, you know, fame, champagne popping, you know, more of the loud, you know, which is more consistent, you know, with, you know, a pop star archetype or, you know, persona. And you, and of course, yes, you're in the project, sounds really personal. So I want to now know, like, what does pop star mean to, what is the Taves definition with pop star? Because you have given a new definition to it with this project. What does it mean to you?
I mean, it's pretty much just like another name for myself, if I can say that, you know. It's just kind of like, this is what I am, that, and that is me, you know. And it's also a sort of thing where like you haven't really seen a pop star that is like me, because we have pop stars in Nigeria, we have pop stars in Africa, you know, but it's just like I'm just another one, you know,
different strand of you know, of that pop star archetype.
I
like that, because I mean, I hear the project and I feel you're more or less questioning fame or the concept or the idea of fame, as opposed to really, you know, celebrating it, which is, of course, you know, when you hear music, really it celebrates, you know, the success of that. But it's from you, it felt like you were a lot more philosophical with it. You were sort of questioning, you know, what you really call a pop star, or is that really what a pop star is, or you know, maybe look at it this way. And I think I really like that. All right, I do this a lot with my guests, and I ask that when they drop projects, I always ask them, you know, exactly what would you use to summarize the core, the idea behind the projects? For example, I had Jure Smith on the show recently. Do you know Jure Smith?
Jure, I don't think. I don't think of.
Artist on the rise, pretty, you know, interesting guy in the Nigerian music scene, and he dropped a project called Diamond in a Process, not in the process. And I feel that sort of changes the meaning a lot. It means that he's going through a number of processes, and this is just one of those processes. And I feel that, you know, also for you, you know, this could also be something like that, because I mean, it's such an intentional name to give to the project as well, and also how you went around weaving your own definition to it. If you could summarize the project in one word, or maybe a sentence that, you know, people would take away from that album or the project itself, what would that be?
I mean, okay, before I do this, it should be noted that this is just one half of the whole, you know, so everybody hasn't had, I mean, I have the full picture, but everybody doesn't have the full picture, you know? So I would say, it's just picture what it's like to be 19, right? And then picture what it's like to be about 24 or 23, you know. I feel like those are some of the most chaotic years of my life so far. Let's hope the most, you know, but it's just sort of like, that's pretty much what I'm trying to represent, is like where my own head was at, you know. And I know that there's a lot of shared experiences as well, you know, so this is just a representation of life since then, you know, till now. I sort of like that approach to it. Now just digging deep into, you know, I've had Chaos, I've had Simone, which Jumbo as well. I want to ask this question in particular, and it's going to refer to the process of making the songs. Of course, it's not a full picture yet, but which of the songs took the longest for you to finish? Isn't it beautiful?
Really?
Yeah.
What about it made it such? Was it the production or the writing, or?
It was the writing. That second verse, it took me a while to write that.
How long
like,
exactly?
Maybe like 2-3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I had other versions of that, you know, but it just didn't sound right, didn't fit right. Like, me and my producer went satisfied with it, you know. So we dance around that one a lot, you know. Plus I had other things going on, so I couldn't like have my mind on it like 100%, you know. So yeah.
And which one would you say was the most personal for you on the project?
Chaos.
Why so?
Cause that's just that's just me talking about my life, like plain and simple. There's no wordplay in there. There's no representing it with something else. It's just plain and simple. This is what's going on, you know.
And I like that you opened, you know, I hired Chaos, right? And as opposed to, it's not a feel-good anthem, right? It's you sort of inviting listeners to sort of meet you, you know, in the middle of confusion.
Yes.
Rather than, you know, confidence.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be like a nice project title, Confusion or Confidence.
Yeah.
See your
Yeah.
right?
Because it's just like I it's pretty much like what you were saying, where it's like when you hear the name Popstar, you probably think that I'm coming in on some, I'm the guy, I'm that guy, I'm this, I'm that. But it's more, I want to be as realistic as I can with it, you know. And I feel like that also needs to have some element of like my experiences in there, you know, because I'm still that. It's just like I get confused, you know. I'm more confused than I am sure of stuff, you know, because I'm 23 and like there's a lot of stuff happening that has never happened to me before for the first time, you know. So it's a lot of confusion before certainty, you know. And like I just needed people to like meet me in that confusion before we enter the realm of like the parties and the girls and this and that, you know, because while all that is going on, I'm still making these decisions in my head and I'm still fighting all those demons, you know. So it can sort of work hand in hand if you know how to balance it.
Talking about balance, you just literally took me right to my next question, which is chaos, obviously. What would you say is the biggest chaos you're trying to balance right now?
Wow.
Career, relationships, expectations, or maybe just, you know, the enigmatic mind of Taves, really.
All valid, believe me, but there's nothing like living in Lagos, man.
That you feel that's the biggest skill you're trying to balance right now.
It's just hectic, you know. And like when people say that, it sounds like it's an exaggeration, but it's really not. It's it's crazy.
It's a madness out here.
Yeah, man. You know, and well, you know. So yeah, I would say that.
The way you're saying the wow, like you beat you a lot.
Yeah, man. I would say that. I would say that for sure.
I mean, we have to run away right now, but I mean, I just want to you know, ask this one, and this is pretty much a question that borders on, you know, your persona, because like I said, this project feels a lot personal, right? And if I had to ask you, what's one thing that, you know, it's a two-pronged question actually.
Okay.
What's one thing that you feel that, you know, people will be shocked to sort of realize about you, you know? And the flip side could be, if you had to remove one misconception, you know, from people about Taves, you know, what would that be really?
Okay. The misconception I feel like a lot of people have is maybe because of the way that I talk or like the way that I present, you know. They feel like for some reason a lot of people think I'm not from Nigeria. That's one. And two, even if they do believe that I'm from Nigeria, they feel like I'm, and there's nothing wrong with being this way, but they feel like I'm one of the people that, maybe this guy doesn't speak Yoruba, this guy can't even talk to me in pidgin, you know, that type of thing. It's just I feel like it's weird, you know, but I guess maybe because of the way that I speak and my diction, you know, it makes that, but nobody really knows me, you know. They just know what I show them, so fair enough. And then I feel like one thing I want people to realize is that, like, I'm a pretty open book. I don't hide a lot of stuff, you know. Like people, anything that I want people to realize, they probably already know, you know.
So this is like you said, not the full picture. This is side A.
Yeah.
So meaning that there's going to be side B.
Yeah.
How soon are we going to expect that?
Let's pray this year. Yeah, but it should be. Yeah. It should be.
Okay, great. This question is going to put like on a philosophy thing right now because of course I feel you make music that sort of outlives your time. So let's say 10 years from now, someone's listening to the Popstar Side A project, right? What feeling would you want them to, what feeling would you want the project to leave them with?
I feel like in 10 years I would like people to still be able to relate. Like imagine listening to a song like can I use as an example? Imagine listening to a song like Fire on the Mountain by Asha right now.
Yes. And
Still valid.
Very, very valid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still very valid,
Yes.
So it's just like I would want people to relate,
All right.
With the good and the bad, because that's just real life. You can't really run away from either one, you know. So I would still want people to relate. I want it to sort of reflect as sort of like for people that met it when it came.
Yes.
I wanted to sort of reflect what this time of their life was for them, and I hope it's good.
Yeah.
And like for the people that are just joining at that point in time, I want them to sort of see it as like a sort of like representation of like what things were like back then
when you made them, when you made the jam.
Yeah.
Alrighty. We have to go right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Taves for coming through such an insightful conversation, and sort of giving me a peek into what's your headspace is like on a normal. We have to go right now, but we're going to take my job for like a few minutes.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to intro your song. I'm going to play Chaos, which seems to me like more like the most personal song on the album.
Right.
For on the project for you. So you're going to take my job. You say, hi guys, welcome, to the Popstar Radio on 885 UFM. All right. You're hanging out with Taves. I'm about to play Jam off my project, Popstar and Chaos. Take my job for a few seconds. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. What's happening, guys? It's Taves. Welcome to the Popstar Radio. I hope you guys are doing good. We're on 88.5 UFM, And right now, we're about to listen to a song off my new project. It's called Popstar. And this song is called Chaos. Enjoy.
Ooh, my boss wants to hear you. My job is done.